So welcome to the Become Her System webinar. The aim of this webinar is to show you 3 simple mistakes that help you silence the shit talk and actually ditch MyFitnessPal or whatever diet tracking app you use for good. Because the majority of you on this have said to me, you want to lose a stone or want to lose 2 stone, whatever weight it is. And that's generally what I get told all the time. The issue is this isn't the ultimate goal. And if you've even achieved that, I don't know many of you, less than 5% of you, who have kept it off. Because you go back to the old you and all your old habits and it piles back on, usually with a little bit of interest on top as well. So what we're going to go through here today, we're going to go through 3 different kind of like examples and kind of case studies of like how to stop the your inner voice from shit talking you. Okay, I'm going to introduce my system of how to actually cancel that out, because this attitude of you hating yourself, not valuing yourself, not putting yourself first, putting everyone else but your own self first, is restricting you and it's holding you back. And then we're going to look at when the scales stop moving, because they ultimately are going to, and it happens way more often than not. How to stop you actually quitting, because this is actually way more normal than you realize, but different diet clubs might have conditioned you to think a wee bit differently. And then lastly, calorie counting is fantastic for what it is. However, I'm not going to lie, I spent years of my life, I've lost years of my life tracking calories, and it became obsessive to the point where I suffered from an eating disorder. It is okay to calorie track. It is not okay to calorie track for the rest of your life. And when you're not calorie tracking and not being able to control yourself, it's also not okay. We need to learn how to live without it, but use it effectively. And that's the whole part of my system. So problem 1 is your inner voice, as I mentioned before. The issue with your inner voice is when anything goes wrong, you're going to be shit talking yourself, you're going to critique yourself, you use words that you wouldn't use to anyone else. And that's okay, apparently. And I'm here to tell you it's not. Because in here, we have the little cycle of the inner voice, okay, right? So say you just started dieting, you're going to have those initial efforts, okay, that you put in, right? You can reduce your calories, you can start exercising, drinking more water, fantastic. And you get the results. The kilos drop off quite quickly, the pounds drop off quite quickly, and it feels good, doesn't it? The issue comes down to when things start to stall. So the weight starts to stall and you're like, oh, this doesn't feel good. And then this is where that voice goes in. Your voice kicks in and says, you're doing something wrong. Your body clearly doesn't work. This doesn't work for you. Or as it said to one of my clients, and it's quite hard to say this, like, and again, excuse me if you hate swear words, but she calls herself a fat cunt. Like, that is the level that women will go to devalue themselves just because something's not working. So what do? 9 times out of 10, you do more cardio. You're on the Stairmaster every session. You're going out for crazy amounts of walks. You start to live out of Tupperware. What does it cause? You overwhelm and you burn out. Because how the fuck are you supposed to keep up with this? You're not. Especially if you've got kids. Especially if you've got aging parents. Especially if you live a normal life. And ultimately, what does that do? That leads you to give up. You give up, and giving up guarantees this will never get better. But you don't know how to do that because that voice in your head is making you think giving up is the easier solution. And this is where I bring in what I call my shit talk solution, okay? It's a self-sabotage framework. It's a really terrible way of saying that, right? And there's 3 small steps, okay? Because this is part of my Become Her system. You have to change who you are internally. You have to intercept, right? The intercept is basically you just write down the phrase, what you said, where you included that judgmental words. I'm so stupid. I always cry. I'm just being an idiot. Stuff like that. You just write it. Your job here is just to be aware of how you're talking to yourself. Because 9 times out of 10, from a professional shit talker of themselves years ago, I used to do it without even knowing. So if someone hears you say it, write down what they told you. The next thing, you've got to actually rewrite the statement, but remove the judgment. You can say what it is without being an asshole to yourself. I felt surprised when I was emotional. Not I'm so stupid for crying, but I felt emotional when I received praise. There's a difference between the two. One of them shaming you for being silly in your head and crying. The other one's just accepting that you actually may be caught off guard and you're not used to receiving praise. Your aim is to validate how you felt without the judgment. And the last one is usually the hardest one. You're now going to take that and you're going to reframe it. You're going to justify it. You're going to explain it. You're going to accept it. It's okay to feel emotional because this isn't something I'm used to. So see how we've gone from I'm so stupid, I always cry, to then being like, well, I was actually quite surprised. And now being like, it's actually okay to feel this way. There's nothing actually bad about feeling this way. I'm just not used to it. So now you're understanding and accepting what is actually going on. And look, this is just an example of one of my clients. I could keep her anonymous, obviously, but at the end of the day, this is one of the ladies who used the word fat cunt, and she ruined herself recently with that. But recently, like I said, look, I'm pleased that I've been kind to myself this week, and I've listened to my body when I normally give myself a hard time over things. This woman was on her period. She was having a really rough week, and you've probably been in that position yourself where you feel you have to slog through it. Sometimes you will push through it. Other times you're getting battered by your body. You just need to listen. And this is where we need to get to. You initially will have that thought, and she's not perfect. She had those thoughts, but we course corrected. We took her through that framework, the shit talk solution, and now she can get out of it. So the next one, scale's not moving, or as I like to say, the scale's not moving as fast as you like. You have definitely been here, and you probably are here right now. This is very similar to the last one. So you get fucked off basically because the scales don't move, right? The emotions are heavily involved in this. So again, you weigh in, you've been really good all week, you've been really good for 2 weeks, and you're expecting it to budge. You know what? Go fuck yourself, because it didn't actually go the way you wanted. It stayed the same. You gained a couple of pounds. It is what it is. However, your brain cannot accept the data for what it is and emotionally internalize it and attacks you. Okay, so you start to get angry. Why are the scales not working? Surely something's wrong. I can't be doing it correctly. Whether you have the emotional reaction or a physical reaction is entirely up to you, but you might kick out. You might start to just avoid things like the scales. You might start to avoid tracking. You might start looking to self-soothe yourself with food. Like, so when you're really pissed off and you reach for those bag of crisps and you can't stop eventually, that kind of behavior. Because what we're looking for here is that little bit of feel good to help us feel better. We feel shit. We reach for the food. We eat more than we intended. It made us feel good. But once we have that time and space, we're like, shit, I actually wish I didn't do that 9 times out of 10. And these are the folks that are probably to blame. Look, obviously not just exclusive these, but these clubs are set up to glorify rapid weight loss. The amount of women I've heard who've dropped 6 or 7 pounds in 1 week, who have dropped nearly a stone in 3 or 4 weeks, it can be done. But I'm sorry, that is not the norm. And it's done because they usually have gone from doing nothing to doing everything at once and causing burnout eventually. Also, not to mention the fact that a lot of these women who have been in this, maybe yourself, don't often eat on weighing day because they want to be the lightest weight possible. And what happens afterwards? You go and celebrate with a pizza. These guys are to blame for giving you that false expectation that your weight should move rapidly. It really doesn't. And look, here's an example of a client of mine. Been working together for a couple of months now, right? And look, you can see from this trend, she's actually been losing relatively consistently. There's a TD spike here. It's not massive, but it's going down as a whole. Lots of data points here. We can see that. But then there's one massive spike here. I don't need to tell you the story, but I know exactly why this went up, okay? And basically what you think about is what you think happens on the other side of this. Does it continue to go up? Does it level out? Does it drop off? What do you expect? Because these are some of the things she was saying. So during this journey, okay, so it got back to 114.8. Glad to see those numbers. I'm confused as to why I'm not actively losing. But she had been losing before. So she actually disregarded all the stuff before. She's down from 118 kilos, by the way, to this point, 114, okay? I do not know why my weight is going up at the moment. I'm back up to 115.4 this morning. So she's still below where she was, but in her brain, she can't get past the fact that she's increased it, okay? Lo and behold, once we actually stopped avoiding the scales, avoiding the tracking, and actually go back to what worked, because she kind of spiraled for about a 7 to 10 day period, we got her back on track, and lo and behold, she dropped. As of writing this, that was about just below the 114. She's now down at 112, by the way. So she's continued to drop. But these spikes happen. Stress, shift work. This woman was working 7-day weeks and done over 50 hours, by the way. Meals out, which she also had at that time. Salt. Have you got more poop in your system? These things will mask the scales. The scales are fantastic. But look, the scales are not going to show everything. The scale is this 10% that's above the waterline here, right? It's part of my non-linear progress tracker. I help you focus and see all the little bits you probably don't recognize is successful. And this is what gives you motivation to keep going when the scales don't budge. Look at the physical changes. You might still be losing inches. 9 times out of 10, that actually does happen, by the way. Your clothes might feel better. You might see it in your photos. But then let's look at your food quality. Most people just look at calories. Calories, of course, are the be-all end-all for weight loss. But are you higher protein? Let's go beyond that. Have you increased your fiber? Are your saturated fats better? Are you having a more rounded diet in general? And then, do you sleep better? Because the amount of women I work with who sleep horrendously, it's not an easy thing, especially when you're a parent and you work as well. Do you feel better? Do you have actual energy to play with the kids? And then go back to the self-talk. Are you actually able to talk to yourself like a human being rather than just shit-talking yourself? I always say to people, would you talk to your friend like that? Would you talk to your kids like that? Absolutely not. The 90% here is what the scales don't tell you. Fantastic tool in the big picture. On its own, pretty shit. And then lastly, to get to here, the no exit strategy. You have got to this stage of your life, right? If you've done this, again, this is only a handful of women I know that do this. They lose the weight they want to do, but they've had to rely heavily on tracking to do it. And again, I will use tracking quite heavily with women to get them to lose the weight they wanted to, because they need that fuel to actually feel better in themselves. However, how often I see people who just stop tracking and all of a sudden they hit this number and it's like everything they've done before just disappears. And you might be guilty for that. The drinks start slipping in again. The takeaways start to increase. You stop going out for walks. You just stop all the things that got you to the place before. And guess what? You're back to square one. And this is how you've always done it. You start here. You're going down the road. There's the goal. There's the goal weight. You stop. And you just stop. And what happens? You make a massive U-turn and you go back to the start. You might even be further beyond it, right? This is how I help my clients. No longer are you U-turning. You'll get to your goal weight, right? Or you'll get as close to it as possible. We will usually change the goal weight a little bit closer to it. There's usually a little reason for that. But then it gets a bit messy. The reason it gets messy is because once you've hit your goal weight, your job is not to stay tracking forever anymore. Your job is to learn how to track less and ultimately not track at all, but still keep the same quality meals, keep your calories in check, and keep your weight in check. Maintenance is not ever gaining weight. Maintenance is like a slow fluctuation up and down of your weight. Your weight's going to go up and down by a couple of pounds, and you're going to stay in and around the same area, right? And sometimes this happens more aggressively, sometimes this happens less aggressively. It's based on how stressed and how much is going on in your life. And that's what these S-bends are. Sometimes this S-bend might even come back on itself ever so slightly. That's okay. But the main thing is, as long as the net journey takes you forward, because I show women how to stop tracking for good. It's like weaning a baby off food. Weaning a baby onto food, should I say, sorry. The aim is to give them a little bit more each time, develop them a little bit more each time. So in this case, you don't track 7 days. You might only track 2 to 3 days now. And then in those days you don't track, do you have a rule set that can help you stick on track? I like to use my 3-in-1 idea. You keep 3 meals the same and 1 meal you change each day. So that way you don't have so many different things that you have to manage that you don't know contain the calories. And this is how this is done. But I don't know many women who ever get to this stage. They get to their weight and they never think about how to live life afterwards. Again, from someone who recovered from eating disorder and calorie tracking continuously for years upon end, I had to learn to eat without tracking. It's difficult and it takes time. This shit doesn't just happen in 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks. This is months, 3 to 6 months easily. And it will go on even beyond when you're finished working with me. So look, you have 2 choices here. I can leave you with a basic framework here. So I can leave you with the shit talk solution. I can leave you with kind of being able to adjust and see below the water of the iceberg. I can leave you with that strategy of how to essentially track less and still keep your weight off. Again, by tracking less days overall, having a strategy in place where you keep 3 meals the same and 1 meal different. You can take that away. You can try and apply it yourself without my guidance. That's fine. And I know a lot of them do that. My aim is to give you free help here to take that away from here and be successful. But what I can't guarantee is it will work, because when it gets difficult, that's when people quit. When it gets difficult, that's when people don't know the answers. So you need to be able to keep doing the things that work without the support. So you can try to navigate the self-talk strategy and the extra strategy alone. Or look at this side, the sunny bright side. It's very cheesy, I know, but I can take an active role in helping you to do these things for you. So when things go tits up, when things go wrong, I can kind of shine the light on what's going on right now. I can be like, look, you're shit talking yourself again here, right? Have you thought about what you're feeling? All right, can you remove that judgment? And then can we reframe that? Like, coach you into it every time, because you think you can do this once or twice. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. You're going to be doing this constantly for the next few months to really escape it. I'm going to provide that accountability, motivation, and support for you, because it's about making your bad days a little less shit. So you do a little bit of something that keeps you moving forwards. Again, think of those S-bends rather than U-turns. So just have a quick read of this, because only I combine the shit talk solution and my tracker-free extra strategy to help you escape the weight loss loop and maintain your body for life without ever logging another calorie again. I'll teach you how to be kind to yourself, teach you how to actually do this in real life application that will go beyond weight loss, by the way. It'll be how you see some friendships, relationships with your family, but then teach you how to have more time to yourself and not tied to MyFitnessPal or something similar, and go from there. Because at the end of the day, you want to have the confidence, have the body you want, be able to dress how you want, to feel better in yourself. You've been trying to do this for 5 to 10 years. You have to be able to do this without tracking calories eventually. You cannot be stuck to an app. If you are someone who's looking a little bit more help, I'm not looking for someone who wants this to be done in 6 weeks, because I told you now, you're going to need at least 3 to 6 months worth of commitment to actually make a change, because you've first and foremost got to find out what are your kind of barriers, what's stopping you making progress. You've then got to actually apply all that and try to lose weight whilst your life is continuing to happen, with all the birthday parties, all the socials, the work events, everything like that. So I'm not working with people here who are living out of Tupperware. Yeah, meal prep's great. We do work on stuff like that. But you're not sitting there eating chicken, veg and rice every single day. That's boring. If you have dinners out, I'm going to teach you how to eat a dinner out. If you have a social, I'm going to teach you how to go out and have a social event. But keep things on track, and if it goes away from you, how to get back on track sooner rather than later. If you're someone who is exhausted from just starting over constantly and you've been doing this for years, if you're ready to actually escape MyFitnessPal and not live attached to it, this is probably for you. And just listen up. Because whenever I do my coaching, I don't take on many people at the same time. And I have a reason that I only take up to a maximum of 3 people, because the delivery I give is quite intense. I am a one-man band. I'm a one-man business. This is all my own work. You will not be working with someone else. You will be working with me directly. I hand deliver everything. I hand speak to you. I reply to every voice note. I reply to every video. I do everything myself. It is a super high contact service. It's the way my business is run. I take massive pride on doing everything properly, giving you my time and effort, because you've probably paid a premium before and been delivered absolute shit. You're going to pay what I feel is worth that, definitely. But at the same time, you are going to get the service that gives you the service you expect and probably more, because I'm not here just to watch you get through this. I'm here to actually coach you through this every step of the day. It's why I truly believe in online coaching as being the solution, because at the end of the day, you have more touch points and connection with me than you would 1 hour on the gym floor. So if any of this has helped and you thought, right, yes, that's me. That's what I want to do. I want to be that woman. I want to become her. You only have to do one thing from now. Just DM me with the word freedom. All right. KD Weight Loss Coach on Instagram. It's the best place to reach me. And I'm going to be really, really clear. This is not a commitment to buy. You are not tied into anything. I am not going to force feed you anything. I'm still going to be like, look, where are you at currently? Right. I just want to start a conversation between you and me to see where you are. And can we get you on the road to the lifelong freedom I've just discussed? So if you send that message, I'll be chatting with you soon. And if you want to do this alone, look, feel free to fire me a question. I'll try and help you out where I can. But at the end of the day, if you want that true support, you've got to DM with the word freedom. Hopefully you found this webinar useful and you understood a bit more about my Become Her system. But again, any questions, fire me a message and I'll speak to you all soon.